Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're new over here, then hi, I'm Anisha. I'm currently doing my core training here in London. And I make videos about my international medical graduate journey, about my training in psychiatry, and just life here in the UK. This is actually the part 2 of the video. So if you're watching this first, then hop back onto the first part of the video where I busted a lot of the myths surrounding PLAB exams, about visa, about money, and about racism and bullying and discrimination. So yeah, this is the part 2 of the video, and today we are going to bust a few more myths, and the myths are about job, training, life in NHS, and just in general life in the UK. So without wasting any more time, let's get cracking. So the first topic is job. Job saturation. No jobs available in the UK. Getting job is becoming difficult as many IMGs are applying. NHS has less jobs and more applicants. The jobs in NHS are decreasing and IMGs are unable to secure jobs. Jobs will be scarce in a couple of years due to increasing popularity of PLAB over MLE. I have sort of addressed this in the part 1 of the video, but I'm going to readdress this. This is something that I was hearing when I decided to move to the UK in 2017 as well. A lot of people when I was back home in India were telling me that, oh, it's going to be so difficult, the PLAB exams are easy, but after the exam you're going to find it so difficult to get a job, and you know, they prefer other trainees over here over you. You will not get into core training, you'll not be able to do higher training. What I told myself is that all these people who are telling me all of these things aren't even on their journey of moving to the UK. They're not working in the UK, they're not giving these exams, they're not living in the UK, they're living in India. They are just trying to, I don't know why, give this negative feedback to me. So I decided to not listen to any of these people and decided to make my own decisions and basically learn from my own experience and make judgments based off what I experienced. So this is something that I was hearing 4 or 5 years back, and this is something people are still talking about. Back then there was no saturation. Today in 2022 there's no saturation. What happens in the future I cannot tell because I am not God. I think if people around you are telling you all of these things, don't let them demotivate you. You decide for yourself. Tell yourself that these people are not even living in the UK and are telling me these things. I am living here in the UK. I can tell you today, right now, if you want proof, if you are somebody who believes things based off evidence, please look up on the website NHS jobs. Please look up on the website track jobs. Look at the number of vacancies that are there. Look at the number of trusts that are still running low on doctors. Look at the number of training positions that come up every August and February. There's so much of vacancy, so please don't get demotivated by any of these things. This is completely false that there are no jobs available in the UK. Next is, you don't get jobs in good places like Manchester and London as an IMG. This is again something that I was told so many times. If you're looking for a first job in the UK, there are people who get into London or Manchester or bigger cities. So people do get into these places. If you're asking strictly about getting into training, obviously it's very competitive to get into London. Your portfolio has to be chef's kiss, like it has to be absolutely top notch, and you have to completely ace your interview and all of that, which I'll get into in a bit. But the part where someone has said you don't get jobs is absolutely false. I am an IMG. I've been in the country only for 3 years, out of which 2 years were in London. This one's a false. Next is, you will be jobless for a year post PLAB. An Indian CV is not good enough for FY2. False again. Within less than, I think, 4 months is when I had secured my job after receiving my PLAB2 results. Like I've said this in the previous video, if you are not getting job offers, I would actually ask the people who've interviewed you or the trust that if they've declined or they have not offered you a job, that like what else can I do which would help my CV. Someone has said Indian CV is not good enough for FY2. Absolutely false again. You obviously need to be a little mindful that if you're applying for a position which is slightly higher, like a non-training, you know, ST2 job or a non-training CT2 job or stuff like that, then you obviously need to have a nice enough CV, and your CV also has to be very focused towards the specialty you're like applying for. You can't have a lot of work experience in medicine and do a lot of procedures in medicine and be applying for like a trauma and orthopedics job in the UK and then be like, well, they're not offering me a job, but I have so much of work experience and I've done so many things. You need to reframe your CV if you're applying for a job in a certain specialty, and you need to really highlight the bits which are focused to that specialty. I have made an in-depth video about my NHS jobs portfolio, which was when I was applying for my non-training jobs, and that entire video is on Skillshare.
Speaking about Skillshare, today's video has been very kindly sponsored by Skillshare. For those of you who are new here, I have teamed multiple times with Skillshare because of what they offer to their viewers. An online learning community with thousands of online classes and members across 150 countries. If you have a specific skill you're trying to learn, Skillshare is the perfect place to start. From photography and illustration to graphic design, freelancing, and so much more. You can find classes that will match your goals and interests. As this channel is all about work-life balance, here's your chance to pick up on a new skill set. I have uploaded a class of mine on Skillshare about NHS jobs profile, sharing my entire portfolio from 2018 when I was applying for my first job in the UK. I know so many of you are international medical graduates here just like myself, and trust me, that lesson is very useful as it helps you to frame your portfolio right for your job interviews. By watching that class, you will learn about how to fill in the details in the various sections of your NHS jobs profile, how to maximize on your capabilities by listing down things that you didn't think were important, and numerous secret tips on how to increase job searches and advices on how to increase your chances of being offered your first job interview. The ethos of my YouTube channel is all about having that work-life balance and chasing your side passion and hobbies. So this year, if you want to take up a new skill set, then check out Skillshare. The first 1,000 people to use the link in my description box or my code Dr. Manisha Mishra will get a 1-month free trial of Skillshare.
I'll link it down below in my description box, so please go and watch that video. Honestly, I have shown my portfolio in its entirety, and this was my portfolio right after my MBBS and internship, and I didn't even have work experience in India. I didn't work after my internship in India. So my first job kind of technically was in the UK, a non-training job. I would say go and watch that video, and my CV wasn't some amazing CV, but I tried to frame it, put it very focused to the specialties I was applying. So if I was applying for medicine job, I would rechange my CV. If I was applying for a psychiatry job, I would kind of change bits and pieces of my CV. You need to be smart about it, and it's not just about CV. Like I always tell people, if something doesn't go their way, and I tell myself as well, kind of take a step back and reassess the entire thing, that maybe something is missing. Can't always be the examiner's fault or the interviewer's fault. Can sometimes be your fault as well. So I'm not saying you have to be very highly self-critical, but what I'm trying to say is that you want to do everything that you can from your end before you start, I don't know, like playing this blame game. And I don't want to play that blame game ever in my life. If something doesn't work out, if I fail in something, or if I don't get a job in something, I always tell myself that maybe I wasn't my very best on that day, and that's why I didn't get it. So I just need to do or work a little harder than that. If I sit down and say that, oh well, it was this person's fault, that's why I didn't get it, I mean, I'm never ever going to progress or have any kind of growth in my life. So that's just the way I look at things. I'm not saying everybody has to be this way, but that's just something that has helped me. So if you want to take this piece of advice, you can. If you don't, then leave it at that. A clinical job will increase the chances of securing a job. I think someone means a clinical attachment. I don't think it's absolutely necessary. What I mean is that if you are getting the chance to do a clinical attachment, well and good, please go ahead and do it. It's always good to have some kind of UK work or UK shadowing experience to show when you're applying for interviews or applying for jobs. But if you're not getting a clinical attachment, it's not the end of the world. I did not do any clinical attachment. It's not really necessary, but if you get the opportunity, go ahead with it. So when someone said a clinical job will increase the chances of securing a job, it is true. It will increase your chances, but that doesn't mean that if you've done a clinical job, then you're 100% going to get the job. Also have to factor in other bits, as in how well you do in your interview and how good your portfolio is. The next is training. It's difficult to get a training job as an IMG. False. This is an absolute myth. I am 2 years into my training job here in London. There are so many other doctors who are IMGs and who are specializing in so many different specialties, whether it's medicine, it's surgery, radiology. There are so many IMGs out there in the UK. Since getting into PG or training is interview based, they prefer white people over IMGs, and you can't question them. This is false again. They prefer people who've trained in the UK. There are mostly going to prefer someone who's trained here in the UK because they've got work experience over here and they've trained over here. They know the system well. Whoever sent this, has this happened with them or they have heard this? If it's happened with them, then I can't speak for them. But if this has not happened with them and someone else has said to them, then I think this is false. The next one is training is very long. It takes 7 to 8 years to become a consultant after MBBS. First bit, training is very long. It is long compared to USA, but it's more or less like India. Like you do 3 years of core training, which is your PG, like in India, and then you do 3, 4, 5, depending on which higher training specialty you're applying for. Like you can do dual higher training as well in psychiatry. So then it depends. It can be 3 years, it can be 4 years, it can be 5 years. It depends on what higher training or specialty you're applying for. It's like super specialization in India, but super specialization in India, I'm not sure. It's like 2 years, 3 years, not very sure. So yeah, more or less the same. If you compare, if you're from India, then it's more or less the same. But if you compare to US, obviously the training is much longer over here. Then the next is it takes 7 to 8 years to become a consultant after MBBS. I think that is what it takes in any country. Like in India also, if you've done your MBBS, then you do 1 year of internship and then you do 3 years of PG, just 4 over already gone there. And then if you're doing super specialization, like these days nobody just does their PG mostly, like from what I know, they do higher training or like super specialization. So then that's again 2 years or 3 years. So yeah, so 7 years, and right after MBBS or internship you get PG, then it would be these many years. But if you don't, I know almost all my friends have taken at least a year to 2 years drop. So there you go, 1 year, 2 year, 9 years right there. So for you to become a consultant in India as well takes you that long, more or less. So yeah, it is true that is what it takes in the UK. It's sort of what it takes in India as well. Getting into surgical training is almost impossible is the myth I've heard. Getting surgical field is much tougher in the UK. It's hard to find a first job. Also, it's impossible to get into specialties like surgery and obs and gynae. It is difficult to get into surgical training. I am not going to deny that. It's highly competitive. But there are people who are IMGs and have gotten into surgical training. So is it not possible at all? It is possible. And I'm going to put in the competition ratios over here for you guys to see it. So it can be difficult, but getting into surgery, I think in anywhere else in the world is also difficult. If you were applying for surgical training in India, that also would be difficult, and so would it be in USA. During your training program, you won't get enough training like you do in India. Oh my gosh, I've heard this so many times. Like it's ridiculous the number of times people tell me that. Completely false. You get so much of hands-on experience over here in NHS. So I don't know who are these people who are telling these things, that you don't get any kind of clinical or enough training like you do in India. You actually get very well balanced training over here. You get clinical experience with your on-calls and during your day shifts and everything, and you have equally that amount of time also left for you for your like lectures and where you have teaching and bits like that. And you also have other research bits where you need to focus on, or like publications, or you do audits. I don't know why people spread this myth around during your training program you don't get enough training like you do in India. Is absolutely false. Don't believe these people. These people are not working in the UK, so don't believe them. Topic 6 is NHS. Heard that NHS hospitals have a lot of documentary work prior to any procedures. Yes, they do, and so should every single country, and so should every single hospital around the world. This is something which is not very well practiced, and I very well remember my dad, for so many decades trying to emphasize this again and again in the hospital where he was working, to tell his colleagues that you need to be documenting every single thing. I remember so many conversations between my mom and my dad, and my mom was like, why are you making so much fuss about this documentation? My dad's like, no, you have to document. You have to document every single thing. Documentation is key. So yeah, documentation is something which doesn't happen very much in India, honestly, because I've trained there. And when you move from there to here, you see the kind of documentation that happens over here, that every single thing is documented. Every single conversation is documented, whether it's a conversation between the doctor and the patient, the doctor and the patient's family. You should be doing that because you're human. You're only going to forget things that have happened. So you might as well just put it down on a piece of paper, and it's much more easier for the next doctor who comes and takes over to go through, what's happened, what all has been done already for the patient, what investigation needs to be chased, or what all follow-up needs to be done. So yeah, frequent on-calls and night shifts. If you're comparing it to back home, it's much lesser compared to that, and you don't work for more than 12 hours at a stretch. Like if you've done an on-call, like if you've done a night shift, you don't go on to cover the day shift as well. Like how it happens in India, you're like there for, I don't know, like beyond 18 hours, 24 hours. You don't do that over here. If you've done a night shift, then you go home and then the day doctor comes in. So if you compare to that, it's much lesser, and the frequency is much lesser compared to India. So this one's a myth. The next is Muslim female colleagues, they don't get to wear headscarf. Examiners are judgmental and you will fail. Absolutely false. There are so many colleagues of mine and a few friends of mine who wear headscarves, who wear hijab. You will not fail your exams for wearing a hijab. And this bit is also false, where they said that they don't get to wear headscarf. Absolutely false. There's no rule written anywhere in the UK in NHS that you can't wear a headscarf. If for religious reasons you're wearing a headscarf, you're completely allowed to do so. Next is Indian doctors don't rise much in the UK. I don't know what this person means by rise. Do they mean by progressing ahead and going on to become a consultant? Then this one again is false. You do go on to become a consultant and you progress very well in the career as your British counterparts. The next topic is life in the UK. First myth is it's difficult to stay alone in a foreign country. It can be difficult, but it is a very personal thing. It varies from person to person. I also kind of enjoy my own company anyway. I'm a little bit of a weird person. What might be difficult to someone might be the most liberating thing that's happened to them. I don't know. This is not true or false. So I don't know. This is just somewhere in between. It depends. It's a personal thing. It's very hard to come back and settle in India after training in the UK. I mean, I haven't done that. I imagine it can be. If you've worked in this country for decades and then you have to go back to another system, it can be difficult. Like if someone's worked for decades in India and moves to the UK, it can be difficult. I'm assuming it is true. You will never be able to get back to India. No, false. No one's stopping you. No one's like chained you to be living in the UK. If you want to go back to India, you can go back to India. The next is junior doctors don't have a good work-life balance. I think doctors, junior doctors especially anywhere in the world, don't have very good work-life balance. It can be quite busy and hectic, wherein you're doing on calls, you're giving exams at the same time, you're doing your day job, so many other things outside of it. It's a struggle. It's an ongoing struggle to strive that work-life balance anywhere in the world. Doctors these days are like medical bloggers, wherein they're sharing their journeys and they're sharing their life. They're being as authentic and as honest as possible. We are all striving for that work-life balance. Nowhere in the world a doctor has a good work-life balance, especially if you're a junior doctor. You're way down on the food chain. You have a lot of responsibility on your shoulders. Everyone's working towards it. I might just say it's true, but it's up to you what you make of it. Like I always have said that the ethos of this YouTube channel is to have a good work-life balance. I'm sat here on a Saturday filming a YouTube video because I enjoy it, and this is something which is my me time and free time and outside of work time. So heard UK is too cold. How to tackle first UK winter. This is true. UK is cold. It does go down to minus over here in the winters, and it can get cold, and it is usually or mostly cold and gloomy throughout the year. Wear the right clothes and layering is the key. Like it took me a few months to realize how to dress up in the UK. I've realized layering is key, because one moment it might be like cold because it's so windy, and then suddenly the sun comes out and you're like literally dripping and it's hot, and the weather changes, I'm not even exaggerating, within like minutes. If you've read these memes and seen these memes about people talking about the UK weather and how fickle it is, it's absolutely true. I just thought that people are being funny. It's true. Like the weather changes very quickly. So yeah, so just layering is key. Okay, so the last one is it's not worth it. And I kept it for the last because I just wanted to give a little bit of gyan over here. I think you shouldn't let strangers make decisions or make these choices for you. These are life-changing decisions wherein you're planning on moving out of a country which has been your home country for so many decades, and your friends and family were there, and then you finally decided to move to another country. It takes a lot of courage and bravery, and you cannot have negative people around you. You cannot have these people who are constantly feeding all these lies to you, saying that, oh, this is not worth it. It takes, a lot of time and you will not progress. listen, they are not in this journey. They are not here living in the UK. So many IMGs like myself are living over here, and I have seen so many other IMGs also share this in their stories, wherein they are like, all of these are lies. All these seniors and all of these residents and all of these uncles and aunties and other, you know, extended family members or close family members who are telling you these things are not in this journey. You are on this journey, and I always told this to myself that I am going to go through with it and I am going to decide it for myself. I'm not going to let a stranger who is not on this journey with me decide or make all these decisions or let me change my mind. So you do your research, you look up for information, and you go on this journey, and then you decide for yourself if you are able to progress or not, if you're able to move or not, if it's fair or not. Don't let XYZ person who is not going through this entire PLAB journey or Royal College exams journey or moving to the UK journey, don't let them decide all this, and don't let them feed all this negativity to you. It's not worth it was the myth, and I'm going to say it's false. So we've reached to the end of the video. These were all the myths that you guys sent to me. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have any other misconceptions or doubts or myths in your mind, or you've heard anything that's absurd, do drop it down in the comment section, and if I can compile a bunch of them, then I'll probably make a part 3 of this video. And yeah, in the meanwhile, I hope you're looking after yourself and your loved ones. This is it from my side, and I'll be seeing you much more frequently this summer, and I'm going to try and be much more frequent with my videos. So yeah, fingers crossed, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye. Mwah.